He'll join. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Playwright Conversations. And we have two very illustrious former cricketers with us today. Laxman Sivaramakrishnan, former leg spinner, Indian player, test player. We have Shishir Hattangadi also, who's been the captain of Mumbai, that is Bombay at that time, and a very renowned opening batsman, a very good cricket expert as well. So we have Shishir for now already, and Shiva is going to join us soon. Greetings, Shishir. Welcome to this conversation.
Thank you, Vivek. It's always a pleasure to be with you and, of course, speak about something we both, so many of us actually love so passionately, the game of cricket. And, being the tragics that we are from a different generation, we always like to dwell into the past, introspect about a different generation of cricket, and of course, try and compare it with today's times. And that to me is most fascinating because at the end of the day, we are all trying to, evaluate what was versus what is. And for me, that is a great analogy about the game of cricket. Things have changed, clothing has changed, umpires have changed, DRS has changed. But thankfully, it's still about 22 yards. It's about stumps. It's about a bat and a ball. And that to me is something that has stayed constant and very satisfying to see over the years.
Yes, absolutely. You are such a thinker. We've had you in our playwright event in Chandigarh, which we hope will happen again in the physical presence of all the speakers. And it was wonderful that you also shared the stage, I think, with Vishen Bedi Saab at that time.
And I managed to get a word too.
You got a word in edgeways, just sideways. Otherwise, it was
not. But I love Vishen Paji. He's great fun, and we have a lot of love for each other. But when I talk to him, I prefer to listen because his pearls of wisdom are really something that you can imbibe and learn from. So it was nice to be at the playwright, speak to him, and of course share a lot of cricket, and that is something that bonds us together, all of us.
Absolutely. So since we are going to talk about spin bowling today, why don't we start by talking about the fact that we don't quite get spinners like Vishen Bedi nowadays. What happened over the years, and why don't we have those classical actions and the flighted ball? And of course, it's probably white ball cricket, but what are your views?
Yes, you're right. I mean, absolutely. White ball cricket has changed the way spinners approach the game. I mean, I guess Sivaramakrishnan will be able to throw more light on that. But you have a point that with T20 coming in and, being the mega dollar, mega money, mega millions, to bowl 24 balls, I think everybody's looking at restriction and, the old art of foxing the batsman seems to have gone. It's all about waiting for the batsman to make mistakes. And that is something that may have hurt the craft. But when we get Shiva, we'll be able to dwell a little more into that. And I'm just delighted because he's come over to Baroda last week or maybe 2 weeks ago and done a fantastic spin bowling camp with the Baroda Cricket Association youngsters.
Really? Okay.
And he's been able to talk and watch them and coach them and give them the little finer tips that will help them, enhance their craft.
Wonderful to know. In fact, so why don't we talk about your early days, Shishir, while Shiva is just joining. So when you were batting and you were playing Ranji Trophy, you were playing senior level cricket, were you mainly facing spinners even as an opener? Was it that after 10 overs like India used to do, or even 5 overs, you got to face the spinners, or were there medium pacers or pacers who were making you face the new ball well?
So I came from a different generation where the ball that was used was not as technologically developed as the one that is used now, the SG test ball. So fast bowlers really didn't have too much unless, after the first 10 or 15 overs, the ball would turn into, a piece of stone and there was no shine to be maintained. Batting was much easier in those days, I must confess. One is, of course, the ball was different. Two is that there was no front foot rule. So, you could play forward when in doubt, and players like me often were in doubt. So we played forward and got away with a lot. Now there is DRS, and there is this ball tracking, and there is these tram lines, which have actually made youngsters and coaches redefine the way they coach youngsters, because it's all subject to the DRS rules, and of course you have to protect yourself from making sure that you don't get out, because keeping in mind the DRS rules. So a lot has changed in terms of the way we played versus how youngsters and how players play the game today. Uh, I might add that batting has become more difficult in today's times. Yes, we didn't have great bats, we didn't have great equipment, but the art of batting has become slightly more difficult. I'd like to look now and say that you had to redefine and relook at the way you played the game. Also, the ball keeps doing a lot because bowlers know how to use the seam, use the SG ball, and that is why when Shiva was over here in Baroda to talk to youngsters, he was also emphasizing on how to bowl with the Kookaburra ball, how to bowl with the SG ball, how to bowl with the red ball, how to bowl with the white ball. Uh, I think it's getting a little more complicated, but all the more, with so much money at stake, so much money to be earned, I think there is a motivation. And I don't mind that, because at the end of the day, it's giving youngsters a better lifestyle, a better livelihood, and of course, doing something they love so passionately.
Absolutely. But who were the best spin bowlers you faced in your time, and best
I
bowlers
came
also?
into. I came into. If Shiva is there, then we can.
He's just taking another 2 minutes. I got a message that is some technical problems. He's just joining.
Chennai doesn't seem to have internet at this stage. No, it's difficult, because in our time, I played at a stage when the great spinners had just had left the scene. So Bishan Bedi, Prasanna, Chandrasekhar, Venkatraman. I played a bit of Venkatraman towards the twilight of his career, but we had I played a lot of Padmakar Shivalkar,
Yes, yes.
who was again another unsung hero, and Rajinder Goyal, another unsung hero, who unfortunately, the late Rajinder Goyal, who passed away recently, another great left arm spinner for Haryana. And besides that, of course, there were, you got the Shiva that came from Tamil Nadu, but by and large, you had to deal with more medium pacers. Delhi had a strong medium pace attack. Karnataka had Roger Binney, and some of their fast bowlers were quite competent, but you didn't have anybody tear away quick. So you don't spend a sleepless night thinking he's going to take your head off. That was comforting as an opening batsman, and you could sleep well thinking that tomorrow I won't get my head knocked off by somebody. Today's youngsters, we've seen, they're all sharp, they all bowl over 145, and they give you a lot of opportunity to test your skills. Now, there he is.
Hello, Shiva. How are you?
I'm good. Very good. Thank you very much.
So I'm Vivek, and we're meeting for the first time, but you happen to know the person in the middle, Shishir Hattangadi, very well.
Yeah, his team. The team
Yeah,
is coached.
very much my contemporary, very good batsman.
Yeah, but I must tell you, Shiva, before I start this, you don't know it, but I keep a record. I was your bunny. I played you twice. One in a Ranji Trophy game. Yeah, I played you twice, and you denied me. One is we played at the Chepauk, where you got me caught at slip. And the second time I was batting, I think 89 or 90 in a Irani Trophy game at Nagpur, and you got me out again there. So I can say that you have a big hand to play in not allowing my career to go forward.
Oh no,
I'm extremely sorry. I'm extremely sorry about that, Shishir. You were very talented. Mumbai had plenty of good players at that point of time, so it was hard to break into the Mumbai team. It is like breaking into the test match team now. Mumbai was so very good at that point of time, and if Shishir had a part to play and opening the innings, the legends of the game have opened the innings for Mumbai, Bombay at that point of time, and Shishir was one of them. If Sunil Gavaskar was there, Shishir would have definitely learned a lot more and played a lot more.
Absolutely, Shiva. Welcome once again to this Playwright Foundation conversation. It's a wonderful pleasure to have you. And we were just talking about the good old days before we get to contemporary times. And I was going to ask Shishir one last mini question before you joined. And that is, Shishir, did you ever open the bowling like Sunil Gavaskar did for India? Did you do it for Bombay?
I actually opened the innings when in a game that was of no consequence in the second innings. Unfortunately,
Bowling.
Yes, I did,
Achha.
and unfortunately, I was a decent impersonator of bowlers. So my captain Sandeep Patil said, why don't you take the new ball and do a Bob Willis or do a couple of bowlers impersonations. But little did I realize he had walked up to the leg umpire and told the leg umpire that watch his action, he's chucking. And the umpire called me for chucking. I was so livid that I had an enemy in my own team, and that was my captain, who actually tarnished my reputation as a fast bowler. I took up spin later on. I picked up 4 first-class wickets, two in a Ranji final, which we lost.
If you chucked
Yes.
If you chucked a little later in life, you would have got a free trip to Australia, where most of the bowlers went for correction.
Why do they have to go for correction there when we've got somebody sitting in Adyar? I can't understand.
Okay, just to set the ball rolling, Shiva, on what we were talking about today, the theme is spin, and we will come to Australia and India as well in a little while. But Shishir tells me that you were in Baroda just 2 weeks ago in a coaching camp for youngsters on the art of spin bowling. So tell us how your career in mentoring youngsters is going in the art of spin bowling. Tell us more about that.
See, first of all, it was very nice. It was a great gesture from Shishir himself, being the CEO of Baroda Cricket Association. The point that Shishir made, the reason why he asked me over was, when I was 16, I played Ranji Trophy. And when I was 16, I got into the Indian team, the tour of Pakistan. And then at the age of 17, I played against West Indies. That was my debut test. And at the age of 22, I last played for India. So at that point of time, I bowled beautifully when things came naturally to me. And when I made technical mistakes, I was bowling very badly. So technology was not available at that point of time. Neither there were not too many coaches who could give a solution. You can find a fault, but giving a solution is far more important. But with the use of technology these days, this becomes much easier if the coach and the pupil maintain a really, really good relationship. And having done 20 years of broadcasting, I learned the art of spin by doing commentary and watching a lot of replays. And that served me and that stood me in good stead. And I think because the way I learned about the art of spin bowling after I finished playing my cricket, I think was a testimony that not too many people will look at. But Shishir was kind enough to call me over and look at their talent. They had about 40 odd boys, and there was plenty of talent. They were willing to work hard. The weather was really good, and everything was fine. So out of the 40, we identified, at least in various age group, about 12 people who can come good for Baroda, for the zone, and for India. And already there have been a few people asking me about a few spinners for the IPL. So it has created a big impact, that particular camp, over a period of 2 weeks.
Yeah, I must say, I must Vivek interrupt here. Shiva will be, of course, watching Baroda. We've won 4 out of our 4 Mustaq Ali games, and as you know that we've had some issues, but more importantly, the team, the bowling attack, and of course he singled out a spinner from the districts, a young not a young but middle 25-year-old leg spinner called Gandhi, who seems to have done well, and spinners, left-arm spinners have done well, off spinners done well. So today we registered a 4th win in 4 games in the Mustaq Ali Trophy. So I think Shiva has had a role to play in that. Obviously, he won't admit it, but it has helped, because at the end of the day, it's when you get results out of a certain effort, you tend to look at something positive coming out of an effort made by in this case, of course, Shiva being here with us. And very interestingly, I must tell you that he's played 9 test matches.
Yes.
Out of that, he's picked up 5 wickets in 3 innings. Now that's a fantastic strike rate, for somebody in today's age, when 5 wickets by spinners seem like, water in a desert. It's not so easy to find spinners picking up 5 wickets,
Absolutely.
at that strike rate. So I
Yeah.
must say that, when we saw Shiva in Mumbai, and Shiva, tell us about it. Who did inspire you? Because you said that, Tamil Nadu generally has a tradition of, Venkatraghavan, VV Kumar, and so many other spinners, your seniors. Did anybody inspire you? Because you grew up probably in an era where there's no television, there's nothing to watch in terms of, trying to impersonate and learn tips from. So how did it all come together?
Well, in Chennai, they used to have something called BS nets. And there were all division players coming there to practice. And even the likes of Venkatraghavan, like you mentioned, Venkatraghavan, VB Kumar, would bowl from the beginning of the net session till the end of the net session. So that would almost be 3 hours. So bowling the next net, not even in the same net, next net, was a pleasure to watch them bowl. I mean, they had great rhythm, great variations. And Tamil Nadu, like you mentioned, is always known for spinners. And it was a track, when prepared properly, could be the fastest. But if you leave it as the way it is, it could help the spinners. So VV Kumar and Venkatraghavan were very, very successful. And they mingled a lot with the youngsters, even though we were at a lower division stage. And learning a lot. I mean, when you bowl in the next net, and if you bowl really well, you're going to be recognized. They would ask me to bowl in their net. And it's a big motivation factor. And Shishir, about Venkatraghavan, he's a very, very strict man. He wouldn't allow you to even have a glass of water in the 3-hour bowling stint. And that is all for the best. I mean, Venki taught us a lot about the angles, being an engineering student, a lot about the angles, a lot about the variation. And he was always a man of full knowledge. I mean, I went on a tour of West Indies with him, and suddenly he would ask, how many square feet above the sea level are we? So with Venkatraghavan, not only in the nets, not only in the game of cricket, you've got to be very, very careful to sit next to him, no matter what is happening.
Right.
And in days when there was no Google.
There was only Googlies, not Google. So, Shiva, I'm going to ask you a question in the middle. Do you think you came in a little early in hindsight? You came in at the age of 16 and you played till the age of 21 and you played at Test cricket for 3 years. Do you think that had you come a little later, you would have been more, the longevity would have been more because you would have been better prepared mentally and otherwise?
I think we can take the point of what Shishir said a little while earlier. Chirag Gandhi playing for Baroda at the age of 25. He's a far mature spinner now. He's a strong boy. And I was 17, Maninda was 17 when we played our test matches, first test. But the problem was the big void left by the spinners. Chandrasekhar, Prasanna, Bedi and Venkatraghavan.
Yeah.
Then there was Dilip Doshi, who made his debut at the age of 30. Dilip Doshi made his debut at the age of 30, but whereas Maninder Singh and me were fast-tracked, and we made our debuts at the age of 17. And I played only 3 first-class matches, Maninder probably a few more. Because I was successful in the 3 matches, I was straight away put on the tour of Pakistan. And we know Pakistan, they're brilliant players of spin bowling. I played only in the side games. And we went to the West Indies. And I played the last test of that particular series. And it was in a ground called St. John's.
Yeah.
And it was in Antigua. Antigua is a big, big thing. I mean, Lara got 400 there. People would get runs even closing the eyes, even they batted for 20 minutes. I just saw the scorecard today. Clive Lloyd getting 100, Jeff Dujon getting 100, Desmond Haynes getting 100, and Gordon Durance getting 100, but Viv Richards getting only 2 runs. But like you mentioned, at the age of 17, we should have been around for a couple more years.
Yeah.
Because three first-class matches is of no experience. This is a display of skill, I would say. But more you play, the better you will get, because the batsman will try to read you out in the first season. First season, I mean, they might not expect what they're getting. But in the second season, third season, they will read your bowling and know what to expect. That's why you develop as a bowler. So once you play 4 or 5 years of first-class cricket, you become a complete bowler, bowling not only different kinds of deliveries, different surfaces, playing under different captains, bowling under different circumstances. So it's a learning curve. So till the age of 24, 25, if you extend that spell, and I think the spinner bowls is best between the age of 28 and to about 32, 33, 34. I mean, Ashwin is showing that now. He's 34 and he's bowling brilliantly. Venkatraman was about 36 when he played his last test match. Dilip Doshi made his debut at the age of 30, but he still got a terrific record. He got about 130 odd wickets in about 30 test matches. And that's fabulous.
We had Dilip Doshi on these conversations a few months ago, and he was saying the same thing, that he actually was very mature when he came in. But I want to ask him one thing, Shishir, before I hand it to you. Shiva, you know that 83 World Cup victory excited us, and we know that you were already playing for India, but you weren't part of that World Cup team. They were not probably picking leg spinners for one days at that time. But in 1985, India was the best team by far in that World Championship, and you were such a big success. So tell us, how was that tournament in 1985? How was India so supreme compared to everybody else? What went right over there that was never quite replicated again?
See, in 1983, they had a very, very experienced team full of all-rounders. And the English conditions suited, I mean, somebody like a Mohinder Ramanath, Kapil Dev, 175 was outstanding. You had a flamboyant batsman in Krishnamacharya Srikanth, and you had Roger Binney. So there were a lot of all-rounders, and I think the youngest member of the 83 World Cup might be Ravi Shastri. But on the tour of Australia in 1985, there were a lot of youngsters. There were Chetan Sharma, there was Manoj Prabhakar, there was Sadanand Vishwanath, Mohammad Azharuddin, myself. So there were a lot of youngsters combined with the experience. And in my particular case, I was not part of the one-day side that played against England. And we lost to England the Test series and the one-day series in 1984-85. So if you know Vasu Paranjpe, Mr. Vasu Paranjpe from Mumbai, he's a fantastic man. He's got a terrific sense of humor. Apparently, he had a conversation with Sunil Gavaskar saying that the grounds in Australia are going to be really big and Shiva can turn the ball on any pitch and you need to take him. The idea was Shastri and me bowl in the middle overs, and between us in the 20 overs, we try and get 4 wickets together. So then you break the middle order and make sure there are no big partnerships, and you make sure you're bowling to the tail in the slog overs. Eventually what transpired was, apart from the final, we got every team all out. There were 180. The highest score registered against us was 205 by New Zealand in the semi-finals. So that showed the quality of bowling. We had Kapil Dev, we had Roger Binney, then you had Mohinder Ramanath, you had Madan Lal, Ravi Shastri and me. There were 6 bowlers who were capable of bowling well any day. And hats off to Kapil and Roger. They gave the early breakthroughs, and then Ravi and me chipped in as Gavaskar wanted.
Right. Shishir, over to you for the art.
Yeah, it's very fascinating. You know, actually, I was just telling Shiva the other day that for me, you know, there are a few defining moments in this game of cricket. And for me, or my generation, and you know, people who watched that series, that stumping that Sadanand Vishwanath had of Javed Miandar in that crucial game of Shiva's bowling, where he beat him in air and off the pitch with his turn, was probably a signature moment in the art of spin bowling, because you can't remember too many defining moments as a cricketer in your lifespan, you know. But some things just stand out. That one particular ball just stands out. Whether it is, you know, even it could be a leave of a batsman, it could be, you know, a leave outside the off stump, or just swaying away from the short ball. For a spinner, it's something that you get right in terms of your flight, in terms of your length, in terms of your spin, and you deceive the batsman so much that, you know, at the end it looks a little embarrassing for somebody like Javed, who himself is a great player. And so, you know, my question to Shiva would be, and this is a question that comes, and one of the reasons why we decided to call him over is Shiva did make his mistakes as a spinner in an era where there was not much coaching, not video analysis. And of course, when he got into commentary, I'm sure, being the passionate observer he is, he learned a lot about the art and the craft of spin bowling. And of course, watching those videos time and time again, you know, of various test matches, he would have learned. Shiva, I want to ask you one thing. If you had to turn the clock back,
Yeah.
Would you have done your stint as a commentator, at the age of 15, and played in an era where you could actually work on whatever weaknesses crept into your game? Because I guess the message that went out to my youngsters is, times have changed, and you have the machinery now, the equipment now to be able to raise your game.
Well, I don't like to study my engineering, so Venkataraman won't have had too much to say. He would have encouraged me at a young age and played cricket a little later. I mean, anybody would love to play a game of cricket now because you see a lot of young kids being very enthusiastic. And at the time that Shishir and me played, I don't think we got too much backing in terms of parents. Parents always wanted you to study first and then take on cricket as a hobby. But now we're seeing the kind of remuneration that's coming in where somebody can be self-sufficient and self-reliant. I think a lot of parents are encouraging their kids to go on and play the game. It's more like a profession. A doctor goes to a hospital, an engineer goes and works. So a lot of these boys are put into camps where they can train and play good level of game. The BCCI is doing so very well that even if you play first class games for 10 years and play a little bit of IPL, say 5 or 6 years, you are a self-made man. You don't have to worry about anything. So all you can do is invest like anything else, work hard on your game, give it 100%, and see what results you get.
I have a quick question now on the craft of spin bowling, Shiva. We've discussed this, but we want to discuss on a public platform. One is, of course, white ball cricket, and how is it affecting the craft, the guile of a young spinner? I mean, it scares me sometimes because I feel that there are talented spinners who have a natural ability to use their guile, but somewhere because of white ball cricket, it is camouflaged in an effort to be defensive, to be economical, rather than be able to exercise that craft. And how, as a coach now, I mean, I'll call you a coach also because I know you do a fine job as a coach. How do you tell them to balance guile versus being a miser? Because being a miser in 24 balls in a T20 game is equally important. How do you manage to balance that?
Well, T20 cricket, you see most sides world over, the T20 tournaments have at least one, if not two, leg spinners. But you see in a test team world over, you don't see too many leg spinners. That's where you drive the points, Shishir. A quality leg spinner playing test match cricket, I can't see it right now. I can't see any of the T20 leg spinners playing test match cricket because they're just used to bowling back of a length. It's a different length. Back of a length where the batsman in all likelihood is to step out and get to the ball and try and give it a whack. So in those 4 overs, if they bowl reasonably well enough, and if they are turners of the ball, both ways, the googlies and the leg breaks, what might hit the middle of the bat might hit the outside edge in case of a leg break, or the inside edge in case of a googly. So because the batsmen are in a hurry and looking to play shots, and some of them play terrible shots in the middle overs, the leg spinners get wickets. But you ask them to bowl 35, 40 overs in a test match and pick you 4 or 5 wickets. It's not happening. It's not happening at all because people want to be miserly, as you said. People want to bowl line and length more than the variations, and people don't have the patience. People are more comfortable bowling to defensive fields. In a T20 game, you get 5 fielders on the boundary line. But when you're playing a test match cricket, or for that matter, Ranji Trophy cricket, you can't have 5 men on the boundary. And any spinner, and most of our leg spinner was bound to bowl the bad ball here and there, it gives him a lot more confidence and freedom to bowl freely. I mean, in the sense, even if it's a bad ball, it goes to the fielder. Unless the ground is really small and you get hit for a 6. So I would like to see a genuine leg spinner playing test match cricket. We have leg spinners. We had Amit Mishra playing in test matches. Chahal has played a lot of white ball cricket, but he's still not figured in test matches. You see Zampa, Australia, he's not played. Imran Tahir wasn't successful. But all these bowlers put together, Rashid Khan wasn't successful in test match cricket, although he's not played much. But all these bowlers have been great value in T20 cricket. T20 cricket is entertainment cricket. Test match cricket is for specialists, and I'll test you out.
I'm going to ask a question, Shishir. Washington Sundar bowled in this test match and bowled pretty well, emerging from 2020 or ODIs to the test scene, bowling more than 20 overs. And I think he discovered himself a little bit in this test arena as the innings went on. I particularly was impressed with the wicket of Cameron Green, where he actually, the ball straightened and even turned a little the other way. What do you feel about this bringing in a 2020 spinner into the test arena and giving him one or two opportunities like this?
Yeah, for people who don't follow cricket in Tamil Nadu, it might look that he was a 2020 player for India, then went on as a net bowler and played test match cricket. But here, the league cricket for first division is a 3-day game. So Washington Sundar has plays 3-day games on a regular basis, 11 games in a year, which is the league game. Then he's also been an integral part of the Ranji Trophy side for the last few years. So he has been a part of the longer version of the game, red ball version of the game. But because he was flat and because he was the kind of length that is required in a T20 game, he was given prominence in a T20 match first. And you see somebody who's been born out of T20. I think Natarajan is the same. Natarajan plays 3-day league games. He plays TNPL where he was identified, and then he went on to play for Sunrisers. And this particular year, he was outstanding, and he also went as a net bowler. And his good karma got him opportunities in all 3 formats of the game, and he's not disappointed. So the kind of setup that we have in Chennai and in the state of Tamil Nadu has to be commended for the kind of cricketers that we produce.
It's very interesting he says that, Vivek, because, after he did my camp and, of course, the following that, the success or the good performance of Baroda in the Mushtaq Ali, I've been getting a lot of calls from franchises. They're in touch with me for feedback because, I've been part of 2 franchises that finished last in the IPL. So I have a fair amount of idea of how a team can fail. So a lot of them do call me and ask me questions and, ask me, pick my brains about it. And they've come to one conclusion that, it's the spinners that do well in the IPL that actually win you games. And there is suddenly a change of focus to concentrate on if a spinner can bowl well in the power play, and also spinners, if they can bowl in the middle of the innings in tandem, or in their quest to pick up wickets. And I can tell you, I don't know, Shiva must be doing commentary and all that, but there could be something lurking very soon in the IPL space because I've been talking to them, and I think Shiva will tell us a little bit before it's time for him to go about the importance of your craft in picking up wickets rather than being a defensive T20 bowler.
Very positive. Very important to stay positive. And you also need a good captain. You need a captain who tells you to bowl for wickets. That's why you see the success of Chahal. Chahal has won the confidence of Virat Kohli, even though RCB haven't won the IPL. But here's a captain leg spinner relationship. And Rashid Khan and David Warner and Kane Williamson, when they play for the same team, they do really well. I'll give you an example of yesteryears. Abdul Qadir from Pakistan, outstanding bowler, performed exceptionally well under Imran Khan. But he didn't perform at all under Javed Miandad. And I did extremely well under Sunil. So a leg spinner needs a good man manager in the captain himself. So even in the World Championship of Cricket, Gavaskar told me to bowl for wickets. So the leg spinner needs a lot of support on the field, and he's got to be told to bowl with a lot of freedom. So that's where the whole thing arises. And we're seeing the last season, somebody like Rahul Tabatia, well, he might have an awkward action, everything. You're seeing the emergence of unorthodox bowlers getting wickets. That started with Bumrah. Bumrah started it all. Malinga started it all for Sri Lanka. Then there was Bumrah. Now you see a lot of leg spinners with unorthodox action and bowling stump to stump and being accurate, getting a lot of wickets. So it's quite heartening, but I would like to ask Shishir one question. If he's getting so many queries about the spinners, is he not getting any queries for spin coaches?
That's what I said. They're getting, but I'm trying to negotiate so I get a good commission on it.
But I want to ask you both one question, Shiva and Shishir. Indian cricket in the domestic level has probably improved in the last 5 to 10 years because the bench strength, of course, IPL is a big factor. But to play a totally new bowling attack, which has done reasonably well today, that means we have a pool of about 25 to 35 players who can actually play in various formats for India. So, do you think we give credit to the grassroots game, like you said in Tamil Nadu, in other states as well? Has it improved?
Tamil Nadu has been having this for a long, long time, but I don't want to take the limelight. The other states have been doing well, but the concept of 18 cricket, the concept of 18 tours have been brilliant. I mean, the bowlers that are playing today have been on 8 tours, so they know what to expect. So the second string has been touring the Sena countries, as they call it, South Africa, New Zealand, they go to Australia, they go to England. So the young generation have been trained to come up in those situations and in those conditions. So I think because of the 8 tours, we have some backup players. But I'm still not very happy about the spinners in the cupboard. We need a lot more quality spinners to play for India. Yes.
Shishir?
Yeah, well, for me, I grew up in an era where, Mumbai was, or Bombay as it was called then, was in a sense, the epicenter of cricket, where, the corridors of power were there. People who, opinion makers came from Mumbai or Bombay then. So a lot of cricketers came to Bombay. I mean, Shiva himself would have come with the Tamil Nadu Colts, to come and play friendly matches in Bombay. And anyone who did well in Bombay in those days was recognized. With time, what has happened is the game has spread far beyond, the metros. And of course, infrastructure, coaching, quality coaching, zonal academies, all these have, and of course, the influence of television, where you can sit in your home and, imbibe a lot of positives from what you see as a young cricketer. That has changed and that has allowed the game to spread pan India. So today you don't need somebody to come to Chennai maybe to play extra matches, but to get noticed, you don't need to go to Mumbai or Chennai or Bangalore or Delhi. You can probably play in Ranchi and get noticed if you do well in a certain format or in the domestic cricket. Coaching facilities have improved, opportunities for practice have improved, but I still feel there is a need to focus on, just practicing is not the only thing. You need to have some technical guidance, especially, in the spin department, to be able to tell you exactly how to understand your game. And I think as a batsman, I can speak, you feel you're playing well when you understood the dynamics of your game. You know what to play and what not to play. You know which shot you're good at and which shot you should be careful of. And these are things that happen when you have somebody who can highlight these little nuances of the game that you are developing. Just being a coach is great. I think coaching is highly overrated because it's very templated. It's like, because I've done a level 1 or level 2, this is the way it is done. No, I think it's a creative art. I mean, as a batsman, when I see myself maybe 20 years ago or 30 years ago or 40 years ago playing against a Malinga, I mean, nobody would have obviously told me that he delivers from a different height. So I, as a batsman, need to get down to get to his eye level or my eye level to the place where he delivers the ball from. Now, a coach will say, watch him, he plays straight. These are standard words that are used. Or, be quick on your feet. But I'd like a coach to observe that, he's delivering not from 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, he's delivering from 3 o'clock. So for me, as a batsman, I need to get down to his eye level to be able to pick length. Now, Shiva will tell you a lot more about spin bowling. And these are things that, I believe will only improve the craft. The game is spread, opportunities are there, facilities are fantastic. You don't play on the corner of a foreign field anymore. You play on good turf, wickets. I mean, the good old days, Shiva will tell you he must have played a lot of his cricket on matting. That doesn't happen anymore. You play on good pitches, you good surfaces, and good surfaces teach you how to play correctly. But there is also this creative side of the game, which I think coaches tend to overlook. They tend to impose themselves on doing this for this. No, I don't think so. I'm not a coach, but Shiva will be able to tell you how do you balance the creative side of a craft versus what is right. What is right, actually? Tell me what is right.
Actually, Sesh, I got a call from, I don't want to mention the name. They mentioned the name of the Laxman that we spoke about earlier, and he said he's got a very unorthodox action. I said, no, he's got a very good action. So the interpretation of what is unorthodox, what is orthodox is, variable from person to person. I thought the Laxman has a really good action. He's strong. He's everything. What a coach needs to do is fine-tune the ability, the natural ability a cricketer possesses, whether batting or bowling. And during the course of the match, you can observe a lot from the outside. So you need to analyze spells. Suppose you are a fast bowling coach like my good friend is Bharat Arun. He can analyze each bowler's spell and tell them every 2 hours you have a break. So you can tell them these are the lines you can do better. And coaching has to be done where the communication is really good. In our days, they would say great shot or a horrible shot, great ball or a horrible ball. But today, people want things in a positive manner. They say you're good, and the mind opens up to hear. And they say you can do a lot better than this. And then they want to listen to what you're saying. So communication also becomes a very, very important factor because you want to win the trust of the cricketer.
Yeah, I'm going to, because time is running out, Shishir, I have one question for Shiva, and that is related to his commentary career because he's done 20 years there. So, Shiva, you're a wonderful commentator with a good, subtle sense of humor. We've been watching you, listening to you, and very good views, extremely pertinent viewpoints. But did you ever have a fan moment on air? I mean, suddenly you find Sir Vivian Richards or Lord Ian Botham, and especially the first time you met them on air. Later, of course, they must have become your friends. So did you ever get a chance to, when did you feel in awe of your fellow commentators?
Well, I would say the first international game that I did, that was India-Bangladesh, Saurav Ganguly's first match as test captain. My first match as an international commentator, that was done by World 10, which was owned by Mark Mascarenas at that point in time. And I went to Bangladesh and I arrived the previous evening, had my dinner, went to sleep, and the next morning we were to leave for the ground at 8 o'clock. When I come down, there is Tony Craig, Ian Chappell, Michael Holding, Ravi Shastri, and myself. All of them are big in size. I mean, they're so tall and big in stature as well. So I said, if I don't get embarrassed during the next 4 or 5 days, if I am doing okay. So the social media was not a big part at that point in time. So if I said to myself, if I don't make a fool of myself, I have a future. And Ian Chappell told me one thing: don't mess around, don't describe the visual, add to the visual. And Tony Craig was giving me a lot of advice on how to go about commentary. Note down how each person got out, how each bowler bowled, so you can refer to the next match. So I made my debut with a great bunch of commentators, and that helped me quite a bit. So I could do my self-analysis as a commentator. How can I be better every time? And my highlight, I get very excited when spin bowlers come into play. So I ask for replays all the time. So that really makes me very, very happy.
Right, Shishir, one last question and then
one last question, Shiva. I mean, you've got a strange problem, like, selectors when a team is doing well. You've got a commentary career. I can see a lot of coaching opportunities. I know that, both are lucrative, or one is lucrative. One, I don't know, because I don't earn that kind of money. But tell me now, if your heart has to tell you what gives you more satisfaction. I know that commentary has its own advantages and its own moment in the arc lights, but there is a cricketer in you, there's a coach in you, there is a commentator in you. and now, of course, a politician in you, from what I read in the paper. You joined the BJP. So what is it that will give you more satisfaction? Let's keep the commercials aside. What is it that will give you more satisfaction?
Nah, I'm not talking about money at all here. I mean, I've done commentary for 20 years. I
I
played
said
a lot of
satisfaction.
cricket for 20 years. Me producing spinners and them delivering at the highest level would give me the greatest happiness and satisfaction ever. I want to make spinners, match-winning spinners, and that would be the happiest day of my life. I wish I can get an opportunity in the days to come, months to come, years to come, but nothing like making a cricketer, because I personally struggle for lack of guidance. I struggle because there was nobody at that point in time to tell me what is the right technique. But today I'm in a position where I can help a cricketer out, and if I can then help them out and then make a career for themselves and they're happy, that would be the happiest day of my life.
There you go, IPL franchises. Smell the coffee. Contact me. Contact me.
Seriously.
I know you're watching. I only
So-
take 20%.
Yes, and so we come to the end of this. But before we go, Shiva, I want to ask you, sometimes there must have been a problem fitting your name into the score sheet, right? I mean, Shishir has a pretty long name. I have a short one. I also played under 19 cricket. But with you, there must have been problems at times. So how did you get over that? And foreigners pronouncing your name, another problem.
Well, the Australians are struggling to even pronounce Labuschane's name. And me and Murli Karthik can pronounce it. It's Labuskagne. He's a South African and his name is Labuskagne. So whatever
Right.
the Australians do, they call him Labushane because they can't pronounce his name. But
Right.
Ian Chappell and Tony Craig made it a point when I went for the World Championship to practice my name, and they pronounced it perfectly right. Laxman Sivaramakrishnan. But if they can't pronounce Labuskagne, I wonder what they're doing there.
The problem is, when Shiva goes to Calcutta, they call him Laxman Sivaramakrishnan.
Wonderful
Well,
talking
if you
to
see
you
a gadget,
both.
Shishir, if you
Yes.
see your telephone, the B and V are next to each other.
Well,
Lovely
it's
talking to
wonderful
you.
to be in conversation with you both. I'm afraid we have run out of time. It's like a banter. It's like, having a friendly net session after the nets are over. And wonderful to chat, laugh, and interact. I think Playwright Conversation series has just reached a new spin-friendly level and wonderful vibes. So thank you, Shiva, especially for joining us, because Shishir has been there before and he will be there again. But we hope to get you once again on board at some future point of time. We wish you the best in whatever you do.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But I apologize for joining in a little late because I'm not too tech savvy. I apologize for that.
You delivered it
problem.
from behind the stumps, Shiva. You delivered it
No
from behind
problem.
the stumps.
Good to see you both. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.